Hello, glorious soul. Welcome to your Soul Service Astrology update for the 24th of April, 2023. Hi, I'm Kel. On this astrology channel, you will find 13 signs sidereal astrology. Now, that is astrology that correlates with what can actually be observed in the sky. And you might think, well, hang on a minute, Kel, isn't that all astrology? No, it's not. Modern pop astrology, also known as tropical astrology, doesn't correlate the stars behind the planets accurately anymore. It used to be about 2,000 years ago, but not anymore. And that's, I think, really important. I think if we just go back to basics with astrology, mini 101 lesson here for you, back to basics with astrology. It was born with astronomy. It was born with our ancestors looking at the sky and noticing what was going on Earth and being informed by that. So there was a cyclic connection happening with what was happening in the sky, and then there was cycles and patterns happening within the environment. Now, that's not just the sky and the environment, that's also you. So there's these patterns and cycles, the sun, the moon, the seasons, your menstrual cycle. It all flows through you with the sky as well. So if we are to come back into connection with our planet, if we're to come back in connection as our ecological self and understand ourselves and understand our creativity and understand our purpose and our service, and be able to listen to our soul, because we don't privilege that anymore. We don't privilege listening to our soul. It won't happen. This is a pathway back to our interrelatedness with our planet and with our sky, because we have lost that. We became separated. So that's why I think it's really important that we're starting to return to listening to astrology that has its roots in the sky. And that's something that I'll be talking more about, is that we have our roots in the sky. We did come from space. We came from particles and light that was within the miasma of the universe and has condensed in this particular form, in this particular time, and we won't last forever. So why wouldn't we be connected to all the relatives that we have that are more than human? Anyway, I'll stop ranting there. That's my revolutionary call for you. That is how we will start to put cracks into the system that currently exists, so that perhaps we can change things, so that we can lead joyful, vital, blissful lives. That's a great segue into this week, the 24th of April. Now, we are currently within eclipse season. We're currently within Mercury Retrograde. They're both two very transformative cycles that happen. Mercury Retrograde happens 3, maybe 4 times a year, but typically 3 times a year. Eclipses, you get usually 2 seasons a year. Sometimes we slip in a third. And through an experiential practice that I have been conducting for the last 20 years, I have noticed there is a trend with eclipse season where before the eclipse season, I will feel what changes are coming in. I will be asked to sit and look at my most gnarly fear, my most gnarly belief, the most gnarly thing that I'm scared of usually voicing. Because with an eclipse and what we just experienced with the moon passing in front of the sun, it's our shadow, it's our inner realm expressing what hasn't been expressed. And we had a total solar eclipse here, particularly in Australia, where we got to see the unseen, and that was the sun's corona. We got to see the unseen, and so we're also speaking the unseen. So if you did that, congratulations for standing in your vulnerability. I'm proud of you for doing that. It is a really, really difficult thing to do, but I'm kind of hoping that you can feel that wave of relief. Now, this week that we're leading into compared to last week, which was like fire and brimstone and walking across hot coals, where we really unshackled ourselves from something that was scaring us. This week, it's not quite so, what's the word I'm looking for? assertive, aggressive, violent in the way that our emotions need to come through and be expressed. However, there still really is that undertone. Now, with Mercury retrograde, the question you can be asking yourself at the beginning of this week is, what is going on for me in my inner landscape? What is going on for me in here? And is it true? Is that really true for me? And what do I need to do about it? But not necessarily rushing in. So there's no rushing in at the moment. Mercury retrograde is this kind of, it's allowing space with our thoughts and our feelings, and rushing more towards things that are going to be much more beneficial to supporting our nervous system than rushing towards things that basically just continue the illusion and put the cloud up. And I'm talking things about emotional eating, emotional shopping, any kind of drugs, alcohol, all those sorts of things that we can get addicted to, scrolling. I'm actually having I've deleted Facebook and Instagram off my phone, and I'm having a scrolling break because I was getting a little bit, you know how you feel when that happens. So the first aspect that's happening on Monday is the North Node is conjunct the Sun in Aries Cetus. Now, I say Aries Cetus, and I'm calling this space the void space on the ecliptic. So not only do we have Mercury going retrograde in this void space, but now we have our North Node, our compass, our mission, meeting up with our Sun after we've really expressed ourselves authentically and perhaps very vulnerably, and we're in this void space. So you might be feeling a little bit on knife edge. You might be feeling there's this rapid fire. You might be feeling like quite discombobulated. And what I would suggest is what I just suggested. Run towards things that you now know are beneficial for supporting your nervous system and your emotional intelligence. And even though I'm saying there's kind of this rapid fire to our authentic expression and allowing our missions to move through us, it's not rapid fire with making decisions, right? This is different. The mind is having a pause. This is allowing ourselves to feel what we need to feel. Perhaps it's through our body, perhaps we see it, feel it, perhaps we know it. Perhaps we're sitting with Earth and allowing those feelings to cultivate and to start to form their expression. So it's not really a doing phase, it's really a sitting phase. And then you can act from a clear and calm, centered knowing as we continue to move through the eclipse season and as we continue to move through Mercury retrograde. And how wonderful that it's timed together this year. Some of you might be laughing and going, yes, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful feeling. Rapid fire indeed. Okay, so we do have a lot of water still in the sky. So that is helpful. And on the 25th, we do have a trine aspect. It's only going to last on the 25th, so that's Tuesday. Saturn is trine the moon. So trine energy is really me saying to you, you have the flow. You can connect with the flow. Just connect with the flow of your breath. It's an air trine. Saturn's in Aquarius, Mars is in Gemini, the moon is in Gemini. So there is this breath, and we can use the breath to consolidate our wisdom, and we can use the breath to consolidate our emotional intelligence, and they can come together and flow easily. So that's really where perhaps we're attuning to our emotional intelligence more. Perhaps we're receiving information from our environment. Perhaps we're receiving information out of our body because the moon is in Gemini. And Saturn is feeding in our wisdom, and then that's going to allow us to communicate more easily. So perhaps that's something that you can start to feel into for you. Perhaps it's been hard for you to communicate, and you can call on your wisdom. You can call on the wisdom of the breath and connect with your breath. And that's one thing that you can run towards to support your nervous system and support the development and the stabilization of your emotional intelligence is breath work. The work I've done with breath work is pranayama through yoga. I would highly recommend finding a good practitioner and they can guide you through that. But the breath has been demonstrated to calm down the vagus nerve, and that sends signals back to the brain that everything's okay, and we start to reduce the stress hormones in the body. And then on Thursday, we have another perhaps would be perceived as challenging aspect. Chiron in Pisces is square Mars in Gemini. So the energy at the moment is a big gear shift. That's what eclipses do. And with a Mercury retrograde, of course, there's a big gear shift. There's a big change that you may be moving into. And it doesn't really matter what that change is, right? Everyone's change is going to be different and it will be perceived as big no matter what it is. So with Chiron in Pisces, there's this sense of vulnerability, right? But then you've got Mars really wanting to use the information that they've received and they want to make the changes and take the action to heal their wounds so that they feel better, so they don't feel like they're in this vulnerable state. And so there's this inner tension of, oh, I've got to do things, I've got to fix the polarity within me to heal the hurts, to heal this vulnerability. So that inner tension is going to contribute to a dysregulated nervous system because we're going through a season of change. And in the Southern Hemisphere, it's the season of rot. So, of course, we're breaking down energy. So this is the time where when we make changes, we're breaking down energy. And even if you're in the Northern Hemisphere and you're in the growth phase, you think like a butterfly. The butterflies are all turning into butterflies. They have to go from a caterpillar to a butterfly, and they don't know what to do once they're a butterfly. They just get out of the cocoon and sit there. So that's still a growth and that metamorphosis. And same with a tree or a flower. They're putting all their energy towards this flower and this fruit in the hope that they will continue on. Their legacy will continue on through this germination process and what's the word I'm looking for? Growth process, right? So there's still a disintegration of energy and then a establishing of that energy. And in the rot phase, we're disintegrating the energy and we're putting in the compost heap, and the compost heap's like, right, what's going to happen here? So there's really this period where we might feel like no decisions can be made. We can be just taking small steps and knowing on the other side of change, and this is what I would like to say to you before I end today's celestial energies, is that on the other side of change, everything is going to be okay. It will always be okay. On the other side of change, everything will be okay. And knowing that, you can take the steps that you need to take towards the changes that you feel that you need to make. And that's this week's energy. Know that the planet has your back. There are cycles for you to lean on. There's earth for you to step on. There's beautiful food for you to consume that becomes part of you. There's air for you to breathe into your lungs and allow it to soothe you. There is water for you to float and swim and be cleansed in. And there is sunlight for you to smile at, allow it to hit the backs of your eyes, allow it to pour into your heart to energize you. And you step into this wonderful feeling of awe for the planet that you are, and know they have you. So if the changes are really big and you feel unstable, unsupported, ungrounded, you feel dysregulated, lean into those elements of earth and ask them to hold you. and ask the question, what if everything will be okay on the other side of these changes that I have to make? And the earth is there to support me and hold me. So that's it from me today. I hope you have a glorious week. If you did want to work with me, I have birth chart evaluation sessions available for May and June. I do have the discounted Soul Service Astrology 2023 planner still up for sale. That's still 10% off. And you can go to my website, kellygunter.com, to read all about those. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you then. Bye.